I fell in love with a Buddha from 1,000 years ago. Using the system, he shamelessly chased after him for 5 years. Finally, he broke the vow for me and promised to marry me. On the eve of the wedding, the royal hunting ground, the assassin attacked. At the critical moment, he pushed me away and still protected the favored concubine next to the emperor. Holding the blade of the sword in his hand, blood beads smeared on his white robe. He didn't let the white moonlight hidden in his heart get dirty in the slightest. I covered the puncture wound on my shoulder. Finally understood that this relationship that spanned thousands of years should end. I summoned the long-lost system. I want to go home. I don't want to change him anymore. I was implicated by Yueguang, cut 1,000 times, and eliminated the ending of the Buddha's bones. One system, I want to go home. The long-lost system was summoned by me and quickly jumped out. Has the host decided? There is only one chance to cross, and once you go back, you will never be able to return to the dynasty where Vantan is located. The system felt sorry for me. After all, it was the system that sent me across thousands of years to unfamiliar antiquity. He met Vantan in a vain attempt to change his ending. I smiled bitterly. I've tried. Brahma is a high monk in history, with Buddha bones, thin snow and frost, leaving countless Buddhist scriptures for future generations, and is a cold and bright moon that is out of reach in the long night. But for the sake of the young plum, he died at the age of 25. In the 5 years since I came to this world, I have recorded every bit of him, frowning and smiling. Everyone knows that I only have Vantan in my eyes. For him, you can give up everything. I accompanied him through the wind and rain, through the rugged and muddy mountain roads, just to visit an inaccessible ancient temple. For this reason, I contracted a wind cold and broke a leg. I couldn't read the ancient Buddhist scriptures, but I was willing to take out all my savings to buy a solitary book for him, just to see him put his hands together and smile at me for a fleeting moment. Finally, on the night of the 5th year, he returned from the palace banquet, was poisoned and broke his vows. He bit my lip, grind my ears and temples. He hugged me tightly and begged me not to leave him. I still remember Vantan after waking up. His eyes were red, and his whole body seemed to be shattered. Buddha beads were wrapped around the back of his hand, which showed his green veins, and chose to eat people. He chanted the Buddha's name over and over again, and he didn't want to look at me. I gasped twice uncomfortably. Quietly get dressed one by one. Vantan, I'll go out first. Wait a minute. He frowned and called me coldly. I have broken my vows, and I can't be a monk again. I will marry you. His voice was very soft, but it echoed in my ears for a long time. I stood stupidly for a long time before I realized what Vantan had promised me personally. There was a deafening heartbeat in my ears. The body and even the blood turned into sticky honey. I was dizzy, smirking from morning to night, preparing for marriage with Vantan. My hands were sore, and I wrote hundreds of invitations with unfamiliar brush words. Use red paper to cut out large and small happy words. The pattern on the wedding dress always feels too tacky and does not match the cold and dusty Van sandal, so I changed it again and again. Everything, I want to be the best. However, our marriage was temporarily cancelled. I touched the scabs on my shoulders, but they still hurt. Squeeze out a smile and wipe away the tears that overflowed from the corners of your eyes at some point. I found a large sandalwood box. For 5 years, things related to Vatican have not had the opportunity to wear wedding dresses, to writing down every bit of him in a record book, as well as the old robes he had worn. All packed into a box. 18 years old is the age of innocence and fantasy. I thought the system was sending me to him. He will always notice my presence and be special to me. Later, I realized that history cannot be changed at all. No matter how long I stay with him, he will only give his life for the white moonlight hidden in his heart. Host, are you really not going to stay? I shook my head. When will you be able to take me home? In 5 days, the teleportation will begin. In 5 days, the host can say goodbye to the people here, and don't leave regrets for themselves. 2. I handed over the box to Xiaoyao, the maid who had been with me for 5 years. After I leave, you hand over these things to concubine Xiao in the palace, and she is the one who is qualified to keep them. Xiaoyao held the box and became nervous and wondered, Miss Sang, where are you going? Didn't you stay here and marry the Buddha? Over the years, I have admired and chased Vatican. They all see it. Where are you going? A cold voice sounded. I turned my head and walked out of the room. The moonlight shrouded his pure white robe, as if it was plated with a layer of holy silver. I think of the first time I saw him, and it was also such a scene. He sat on the lotus platform that thousands of people looked up to, his slender fingers turned the Buddha beads in his hand, chanting Buddhist teachings and praying for the blessings of the common people. With just one glance, I could no longer take my eyes off him. His eyes never stayed on me. No, don't go. You know, I don't know anything here. For 5 years, I only surrounded him, trying my best to make him tempted by me and change his future outcome. I just packed up some unnecessary things and asked Xiaoyao to help me throw them away. I said it lightly, tell myself. Empty these obsessions, and I will be able to leave without nostalgia. Van Tan didn't ask any further, but just glanced at the empty hall. He has always been quiet, only when I discuss Buddhism with him, or when I meet another person. There will be ripples in the eyes. 3 at night, someone hurriedly knocked on the door of the Buddhist temple. I looked at it in astonishment, standing at the door, wearing the clothes of a palace maid. Mother, why are you here? Xiaoxu walked anxiously and familiarly to Van Tan's room. It's like she's been here many times. Vantan was hurt for me, and I really can't rest assured of him. I sneaked out of the palace, she grabbed my sleeve with sly eyes, you must keep it a secret for me. I followed her speechlessly, like a superfluous person, into Van Tan's room. The moment Van Tan saw her, the scriptures in his hand fell, and he stood up suddenly. Nonsense. Why are you here? I have never seen such a big fire from the silent Van Tan. The cold reprimand suddenly made concubine Zhao's eyes red. She bit her lip with crystal tears in her eyes and murmured, Who let you hurt me? I'm afraid that others won't take care of you, so I have to come to see you in person to feel at ease. I froze for a moment. My heart was pulled and I felt faintly sad. Van Tan and I had a skin-to-skin relationship and made a marriage contract, but in their eyes, it was nothing, just a other person. You don't want to see me, I'll go. Concubine Xiao played with her temper, turned around and left. Van Tan got up in a hurry and bumped his leg into the corner of the table. He didn't stop his footsteps, and grabbed concubine Zhao's hand heavily. These days, I bandaged him, and the wound that was medicated cracked again. The blood stained the bandage red, and he didn't notice it, only Xiaoxu was in his eyes. Xiaoxu stared at the blood dripping from his fingertips, screamed, and tears rolled down. As if no one was around, she held Van Tan's hand and carefully removed the bandage. His fingertips trembled and helped him administer medicine. I clearly saw that the ice under Brahman's eyes was melting. Van Tan, who hated being touched by others the most, did not withdraw his hand. He gently helped Xiaoxu wipe away his tears. Sister, don't cry. I don't hurt. It's not worth your risk out of the palace for me, so don't do it in the future. His voice became hoarse. You are the emperor's concubine, and you should stay in the palace to accompany the king. Lao Ling is the nickname of concubine Xiao. For 5 years, Vantan will only call me Songbai by name. This may be the difference. For I remember the night when Sandalwood lingered in the Buddhist hall. Even if he was drugged, he had no sanity. Try not to touch me, and the robe on my body is not messy. The dark red eyes are full of black ice. Just use me as an antidote. Now that I think about it. He hugged me tightly and begged me not to leave him. It is also a demonic barrier into the heart. The effect of the medicine was vague, and I was treated like someone else. I was stupidly happy, thinking that he was just not good at words and was used to abstinence, but in fact, he still treated me differently and liked me. It wasn't until I saw him getting along with concubine Xiao that I understood his indifference and his non-eating fireworks. Just for me. 5. I silently withdrew. The tip of his nose was sour, and he looked at the faint and distant moon. If you can't take off the moon, let it hang in the sky, I don't want it. In the room separated by a door, concubine Zhao's cry came intermittently. Van Tan, why do you make me sad? Do you hate me? I thought you had lost love. Back then, I entered the palace to choose a concubine. It was all forced by the family, who I really want to marry, don't you know? You also became a monk after I entered the palace. I covered my ears and didn't want to listen. But concubine Zhao's cry, as well as the man's low comfort, penetrated everywhere, drilled into my ears, and stabbed my heart. Finally, concubine Zhao's voice stopped abruptly. Then came the sound of tables colliding. It took a long time for concubine Xiao to come out. Her lipstick was drained. I looked away, not allowing myself to think wildly and feel uncomfortable for irrelevant people. There are still 5 days left. In 5 days, I was able to leave. Never come back. Xiaoshu's smile was delicate and dazzling. She seemed to be deliberately trying to let me discover something, so she pasted it up and stuffed a bottle of medicine into my hand. As a noble concubine, I can't leave the palace often. Please take care of Van Tan, he has a cold temper and refuses to be 1,000 miles away, and please be more tolerant of Miss Sang. She seems to show her possessions, introducing Brahman. I am his nominal fiancé, so why bother? It's sad than any other disappointment. I calmly took the medicine in her hand and nodded in agreement. Van Tan chased after him, and he looked a little nervous. I wanted to laugh a little inexplicably. He felt that I would make things difficult for the moonlight he hid in his heart. But what qualifications do I have? Concubine Xiao has nothing to do with me, she came only because of my kindness in saving her. Vantan explained to me for the first time. My eyes fell, just in time to see the hickey on his white robe. The bright color, like a delicate begonia flower, blooms on his shoulder. I still choked up for a moment. It seems that the concubine comforted well. After Vantan also noticed the lipstick hickey, his face changed slightly, he frowned, and wiped it vigorously. Sangbai, it's not like you see it. His tone returned to silence, showing a little helplessness. It's like I'm being unreasonable. The concubine tripped over the table and almost wrestled, but I just helped her. The rouge on her lips rubbed against my cassock. Van Tan's cold eyes stared at my eyes. In the past few years of following him, I have been a little insecure. Because I came for him, he didn't understand at all. Those female believers were very hostile to me, saying that I was a witch who seduced the Buddha and destroyed his practice. I still remember that Vantan was like snow on the top of a mountain, with a compassionate look. He said word by word, my heart towards the Buddha will never change, nor will I fall into the abyss of the world for anyone. I stood outside the Buddhist temple and listened to these words and did not return to Brahman. When Brahma found me, I cried so much that my eyes were swollen. His deep eyebrows and eyes have no emotion, and do not comfort me. After waiting for me to cry until I burped, I said lightly, I have prepared vegetarian dishes, and if I don't go back, they will be cold, and the cold vegetarian food is not delicious. With just one sentence, I was coaxed by him. When the believer was suspicious of me, he did not stand up and say a word for me. Regarding concubine Zhao's reputation, he was so anxious. I closed my red eyes. Since they are leaving, why bother so much? Van Tan, I believe in you, I believe that you and concubine Xiao have nothing. 6 In the dead of night, I took off my clothes and put medicine on my shoulders. To this day, Van Tan still does not know. On the day of the royal hunting grounds, I was also injured. The assassin's sword pierced my arm, and blood stained my clothes. It hurts, it hurts. After the assassin kicked me away, he sneered at me, I heard that the Buddha of Brahma has moved the mortal heart for you, and is willing to return to the world for you and marry you as a wife. At the critical moment of life and death, the person he cares about and saves is not you. TSK, you still want to threaten him with your life, so it seems that you don't matter. That day I wore an ochre red skirt, and blood flowed out, and others couldn't see it at a glance. My face turned pale, and I struggled to look in the direction where Vantan was. The moment the assassin rushed to the Emperor's side, Vantan made a choice. He pushed me away and pulled his hand, allowing me to fall to the ground and break my elbow. He held the sword in his hand, and blocked the blade of the sword that stabbed at Xiao Shu. Blood dripped from between his fingers, far away, and burned my eyes. One by one, they fell on his pure white robe. The ground was full of mess and blood. They were all blocked by the tall figure. Not dirty, his white moonlight is not at all. It was concubine Xiao who was the first to react. She suppressed the anxiety between her eyebrows, and she had to pretend to be unfamiliar with Vantan. Xiao Shu stumbled, and her crying voice came into my ears. The Buddha does not have to save this palace. You should go and save Miss Sang first. Vantan didn't look at me, his voice was cold. The life of the noble concubine is more important than her. The powder got on the scar on my shoulder, and I gasped in pain. It turns out that if you care about a person, you can't deceive people at all, and you can't help but use your life to protect her. Recalling the scene on the hunting ground, even if I decided to leave, my heart was still sour. But that's okay. If I leave this era, I will completely forget him, right? 7. I took out the last thing from my sleeve, which belonged to Brahman. It is a string of blood Bodhi Buddha beads. I had just been sent into this era by the system, falling from the sky and wearing fancy clothes. The people talked a lot and reported to the government to arrest me for interrogation. I hid in Tibet, but I saw Brahma on the lotus platform, untainted by dust and smoke, preaching scriptures and praying for blessings. I didn't appear in front of him until he was ready to return to the Buddhist temple. Master Buddha, can you save me once? I will repay you. Vantan didn't say anything, and let me hide in his palanquin. The sedan was not big, and he and I were close together. He was cold, and his sandalwood-dyed cassock brushed my face and hooked the fawn in my heart to the ground. When leaving, Vantan took off the Buddha beads from his wrist and gave them to me. This is my token. When the people in the government see it, they will not embarrass you. I rubbed the warm Buddha beads in my hand. No matter how much nostalgia I had, it was time to cut it off. The day before I left, I found Vantan. Handed this string of Buddha beads that he had worn every step of the way to him. I wanted to lock it in the box together, but this string of Buddha beads is said to be a relic passed down to him by his master. After thinking about it, it was better to return it to him personally. This string of Buddha beads is too precious, I can't use it anymore, so I'll give it back to you. Vantan was in meditation, and when he heard this, he suddenly opened his cold and deep eyes. You don't want it anymore? His voice seemed to be a little more urgent. I think I must have heard it wrong. He smiled and nodded. Yes, the Buddha beads passed down to you by your master are not suitable for me to wear all the time. When you meet someone more important in the future, leave it to her. This is the last time I say goodbye to him. The system said, don't leave regrets. I thought he would say something to me, even if I asked. He didn't ask a word, and after nodding coldly, he took the Buddha beads from my hand. History books record that he was pregnant with Buddha bones, and was born to enter Buddha. I finally took a closer look at Brahman's eyebrows and eyes, which were as cold as knives, and he really looked like a living Buddha sitting on a lotus platform, without 7 emotions and 6 desires. That's fine. After leaving, I will forget him, and he will forget me. 8. On the last day the system sent me away, someone suddenly came from the palace and announced that Brahma and I had entered the palace to meet the saints. On the way to the main hall, I suddenly broke my foot. The palace people asked me to rest in the imperial garden, and they went to find a palanquin. I sat quietly behind the shadow of the flower. Seeing concubine Xiao after a long absence, she never dared to leave the palace except for that time when she secretly ran out of the palace and was reprimanded by Van Tan. She was dressed in gorgeous palace costumes and took the palace maids to enjoy the flowers unhappily. After cleaning up the people around her, Xiaoshu stroked the flower branch and said, "I don't know how long it will take before I can see Van Tan. He's about to return to the secular world and marry a wife. Then what reason do I have to see him again?" Concubine Xiao squeezed out a bleak smile. "Sometimes, this palace selfishly hopes that he will be a Buddhist disciple for the rest of his life, the ancient Buddha of the green light. He doesn't belong to me, nor does he belong to any other woman." The palace maid was probably her confidant, comforting her. "Why did the Buddha Brahma return to the world? Why did he marry that woman? Don't you know very well in your heart? He is all for you, my lady." Someone at the palace banquet deliberately designed to frame the lady, and when the Buddha learned about it, he deliberately changed the wine glass and drank the cup of problematic wine. The slave created an opportunity for the lady to be alone with him, but he would rather bite his tongue than touch the lady, use the mother's daughter's body to detoxify, and send the lady back to the palace to confirm that the lady is safe before leaving. That shameless woman who has been with the Buddha for 5 years, and is entangled is just his blind antidote. Why should the lady care about her existence? If the Buddha is interested in her, he will not let her stay with her for 5 years, and only after that kind of thing happens, will he marry her with alms. I raised my cold hand and rubbed my stiff and numb face. Knowing in my heart that I am just an antidote for Brahma, and hearing others say it so contemptuously are completely different feelings. He was reluctant to tarnish the white moonlight and let her face gossip in the harem, so he chose me. I dragged my sprained foot and followed Van Tan, and came to the main hall in a daze. The emperor said with a majestic smile, "As a monk, you have sacrificed your life and death to save my beloved concubine. I heard that you broke your vows for a woman named Sangbai, and I allowed you to return to the world, and I also married you to that woman." This was a great honor, like thunder, exploding in the main hall. Van Tan, who was kneeling in front of me, raised his face in disbelief and suddenly tensed his body under his robe. In fact, Vatican doesn't have to be so embarrassed. "I'm leaving soon, I won't be entangled anymore, and I won't marry him. Please also ask the emperor to withdraw the order and call off the marriage." I stood up with eyes from all directions. The people don't want to marry him. The folk girl does not belong here, and will leave soon. The coldness on Van Tan's face was like a broken cold jade, shattered inch by inch. His eyes were extremely shocked, and the corners of his eyes looked at me faintly red. "Sangbai, what did you say?" "9, where are you going?" Van Tan's face turned pale, as if he had been struck by lightning. Like a shattered jade Buddha, I caught a glimpse of the panic inside. He pinched my wrist, his fingertips turned white, and it made me feel pain. "I haven't had time to speak yet." The palace maid outside the palace broke in anxiously, "Your Majesty." The noble concubine walked to the gate of the palace and suddenly fainted. She didn't want the emperor to marry her. Coincidentally, I don't want to marry Van Tan. Just give it back to her. The emperor was so anxious that he took the lead in walking out of the palace to see the imperial concubine. The others also left with the emperor. All of a sudden, the hall was empty. Only me and Van Tan, who were red from the corners of his eyes, holding my wrist and refusing to let go. If he had kept me earlier. I smiled and looked at him, wrapping my wrist around Buddha beads. "The concubine is fainting, why don't you go and take a look?" Every time I watch him leave me running towards Xiaoshu, I am so tired. Van Tan's cold face was tense, and he lowered his eyes, showing panic and vulnerability. "Sangbai won't do it in the future. I ruined your innocence and should be responsible for you. The Holy Lord's marriage, I will take. As I promised at the beginning, I will marry you in the world." I chuckled and interrupted with a bit of sarcasm. The Buddha couldn't bear to stain the concubine, so he chose me. I'm just blindly antidote, I don't need to take the Buddha to heart. Van Tan's face turned even paler, as if a sharp thorn had pierced his heart. His voice trembled slightly, and he called me eagerly, Sangbai, it's not like this. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief from outside the palace. Great, the imperial concubine is awake. Xiao Shu, who woke up from the emperor's arms, subconsciously called out the name of Van Tan weakly. Van Tan's body was tense for a moment, and he didn't dare to look back. Outside the hall, everyone around the noble concubine also dared not breathe. The palace maid beside concubine Xiao knelt down. Your Majesty, the lady often faints for no reason these days, and the cause cannot be found. Recently, there have been rumors of evil spirits in the harem, and many palace people have bumped into. Buddha, son of Brahman, the Buddha's dharma is exquisite, and his cultivation is profound, so the lady wants to invite him into the palace to drive away evil spirits. Concubine Xiao woke up, snuggled up in the emperor's arms, but her eyes looked in the direction where Van Tan was. The emperor is exactly like this, and the concubines have been getting weaker and weaker recently. I heard that the emperor wanted to marry the Buddha's son, so the concubine wanted to take the opportunity to find the Buddha's son and come to the palace to exorcise evil spirits, but who knew that she fainted again as soon as she arrived at the palace gate. Others may not hear it, but I heard it very clearly. Concubine Xiao bit the word marriage very hard. The solidified atmosphere finally dissipated. The emperor felt sorry for his beloved concubine and promised her to let Van Tan go to her palace to exorcise evil spirits. 10 I want to leave. Van Tan held my hand tighter. The voice was low and begged, Sangbai, don't go, wait for me for a while, I will come out soon. I am waiting outside concubine Zhao's palace. Van Tan was inside to exorcise evil spirits for her. Everyone knows that exorcism is just a cover. She just wanted to see Van Tan, and didn't want to give him to anyone else. Van Tan's heart was like glass, he understood, but he still connived at it. Xiao Shu stood in the depths of the palace, her eyes unblinking, just looking at him. There is no room for extra people among them. So, it's time for me to go. I finally looked back at Brahma holding the Buddha beads, and closing his eyes to chant scriptures. The robe on his body glowed with a light purer than snow, like an unattainable god. Concubine Xiao came over at some point. Suddenly, the burning incense poured towards her. Brahman, who was chanting, opened his eyes the moment the tower incense fell. He suddenly changed his face, immediately pounced on him, hugged Xiao Shu in his arms, and blocked Ta Xiang with his body. Ling, are you okay? The incense of the tower is so high, who asked you to come here? His voice was cold and fierce, and he still couldn't hide his distress. The subconscious reaction is the truest thought in the heart. He cares about Xiao Shu. More important than his life. I laughed at myself, and when I was about to look away, I saw the amulet that fell out of concubine Zhao's arms. The heart suddenly sank and the ears buzzed. It was like being slapped hard. It was I knocking on 1,000 long steps, bowing my head step by step, and finally knocking on my forehead, and becoming the birthday father-in-law. From dawn to dusk, he arrived at the Buddhist temple, knelt in front of the Buddha statue, closed his eyes for Brahma, and prayed devoutly. Buddhas all over the sky, you must bless Brahma. Bless him not to be like the history books. Died young, died so miserably. I have come across thousands of years, and kneel before you just to ask him for a good end. The orange sunset shines on me through the yellow temple wall. It seems that at this moment, fate has formed a closed loop. I have crossed a long 1,000 years. Just for the sound of the Buddha bell, bow your head at this moment. Ask for a talisman for him, ask for him all the gods and Buddhas, and change the future fate. I have decided to leave, I have decided to let go. However, seeing the amulet that fell out of Xiao Shu's arms, I still couldn't help but have hot eyes and lost all my reason. He cannot do it, not cherish it. But I shouldn't give away what I worked so hard to give to others. Like a madman, I rushed to concubine Xiao, broke her fingers, and snatched the amulet back. Concubine Xiao was pushed to the ground by me. Not only did she change her face, but even the Van Tan beside her sank her face after being stunned. Sangbai, what are you doing? He asked coldly. I clenched the amulet in my hand and shed tears in desperation. What's wrong with me getting my things back? I've been following you for 5 years, you are tired of me, you can tell me earlier and drive me away. Why do you want to transfer a piece of my sincerity to someone else? I cried until I choked up, and in everyone's cold eyes, I was like a maniac who was unreasonable and lost his temper. She is more important than me. I always knew. So you pushed me away and went to save her, and you couldn't even see my shoulder hurt so badly. I knelt down for a long time, begged the gods and Buddhas and asked them to. For you changed the ending. My voice choked up. If I had known, I wouldn't have let the system send me to this strange and distant dynasty. Just to meet you. 11 concubine Xiao stood up with the help of the palace maids beside her. Her eyes stabbed me coldly. Miss Sang, are you crazy? What are you talking about? What system, what dynasty? She hooked her lips softly and said dignifiedly, if you spread strange power and confuse people in the harem, you will be punished. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and smiled indifferently. I'm going home soon. Do you still care about being punished? The white cassock standing next to me finally moved, but he walked to Xiao Shu's side to check if she had been pushed by me. The burning heat that I finally endured in my eyes spread again. Van Tan looked at me, his cold eyes implicitly oppressive. The cold voice is even colder. Like an ice needle piercing me. Sangbai, you are at fault first, you shouldn't be rude to the noble concubine. He aggravated his tone. Sangbai, apologize to the noble concubine. I stood stubbornly, refusing to move. Van Tan frowned and sighed. Why do you want to grab the amulet of the noble concubine? That's what I asked for and gave to her. I was stunned for a long time, my eyes were out of focus, looking in the direction of Vatican. The amulet in your hand drops. After being picked up by Vantan and cleaned up, he reconsecrated it and returned it to Concubine Xiao. Concubine Xiao glanced at me and laughed teasingly. It turns out that Miss Sang made a mistake, thinking that this palace took her amulet. Dogwa Temple, there are 1,000 steps, long and steep, it is really not easy to ask for a talisman, and those who need to pray for blessings have a lot of perseverance. But this amulet was specially asked for this palace by the Buddha son of Brahma, and it was still a winter moon. He stepped on the unmelted ice and snow and knelt in the Buddha hall. The Buddha spent a lot of effort for the safety and health of this palace. So this amulet is worn by this palace day and night, and it has been worn for 5 years. Miss Sang, don't make a mistake. 5 years. I reminisce bitterly. I also stayed with him for 5 years and got nothing. Vantan looked at me. If you want, I'll ask for one for you next time. I shook my head calmly. No, I don't want it anymore. Vantan raised his hand, trying to wipe away his tears with a rusty movement, but I avoided him. His hand stopped in mid-air, slowly withdrew and clenched it. Sangbai, let me make one for you myself. No need, Buddha, what you asked. I don't need alms. I left immediately, and I couldn't take these things with me. Turning around and leaving the palace, Vantan immediately chased after him. His robe shook, and he stood in front of me. I'll send you back first. At the same time as the words fell, the palace maids beside Xiao Shu chased after her. Buddha, the lady feels flustered and scared, and needs you to be by her side. She wants to hear you preach. Brahma stood quietly in front of me. For my marriage, he has been growing his hair since he broke his vows. The wind blew away the broken hair on his forehead, revealing his focused eyebrows. When will the ice under his eyes melt and turn into clear tenderness? Can you reflect my shadow? I said in my heart, Sangbai should stop being deceived by him, it's time to go home. Sangbai, I'll send you back. He said it again. This time, between the concubine and me, he finally chose me. But I don't need it anymore. No, there is a carriage outside the palace, the journey is very short, I can go back by myself. The imperial concubine is flustered and scared, so you go to accompany the noble concubine first, she is more important than me. 12 Vantan's face froze, and he clenched the Buddha beads in his hand. At the hunting ground, when he stood in front of Xiao Shu, he said such a thing. He approached, and sandalwood came through his white robe. For the first time, in front of outsiders, he touched the top of my head affectionately, saying, "Bye, wait for me to come back. This time, I won't let you wait long. When I get home, I'll make you the vegetarian dishes you like to eat." I smiled and said okay. After Brahma turned around, I said to myself, "You have deceived me so many times, and I have lied to you once. I understand that concubine Xiao is possessive of him." So late at night, Van Tan had not yet returned from the palace. I was neither surprised nor uncomfortable. "System!" I shouted. The system immediately responded, "Host, I'm here. I don't want to change him. I was implicated by concubine Xiao, and finally I cut 1,000 cuts and eliminated the end of the Buddha's bones. Maybe it's the summer vacation of my senior year of high school, that sleepy afternoon." The ceiling fan of the library creaked overhead. Inadvertently, when I opened the page of the history book, it happened to introduce him. A young Buddhist monk with immeasurable merit. Talented and intelligent, with sparse eyebrows and eyes, he left countless Buddhist scriptures, but he fell at the age of 25. The Xiao family had great merits and had long harbored feelings of rebellion. After the defeat of the Xiao family, the whole clan was convicted and liquidated, and even the pregnant concubine Xiao was demoted to a commoner and imprisoned. Northwest one in the court dared to speak for the Xiao family. In addition to Brahman, he knelt under the red wall for 3 days, blowing in the wind and sun, twisting the Buddha beads in his hands one by one. Ask the emperor, open the net, and spare the life of the former concubine Xiao. Concubine Xiao heard that he had knelt for herself for 3 days, mixed with joy and sorrow, and had a miscarriage in prison. There are rumors in the palace that before Xiao entered the palace, she had a marriage contract with the Buddha's son Van Tan, a childhood sweetheart. Concubine Xiao often asked Van Tan to enter the palace to give lectures, and it was difficult to tell whose flesh and blood the child in her womb was. In a fit of anger, the emperor inflicted bone-cutting punishment on Brahma. When he was alive, he cut off his Buddha bones with a knife. Blood stained the robe, and the dirt fell into the mud. Van Tan said nothing, never begged for mercy, but repeated again and again, he had no personal affair with concubine Xiao. I still remember that when I read this paragraph, tears welled up in my eyes, and I couldn't describe the uncomfortable regret. Until the system sent me to Van Tan's side 1,000 years ago. In 5 years, there has been no change. I seem to understand he died for Xiao Shu, which was inevitable and willing. Concubine Xiao, who used to be in prison, should have cried and laughed when she heard the news of his death. That person made a promise, because of a promise made as a child, he became a monk for her, and silently guarded her for the rest of his life, and suffered the punishment of bone removal for her. 13 It's midnight. I came outside the Buddhist hall. The system prompt sounded, enter the teleportation countdown immediately, please prepare the host. I said softly, take me home. At the end of the last countdown, I was covered in light and floated in mid-air. There is no moon tonight. The sky was gloomy, and suddenly a bolt of lightning struck. The pain hit me. Warning, warning. The system has gone wrong, and the transmission has been stopped. Miss sang. How can you float in mid-air? I reluctantly opened my eyes and saw Xiaoyao running towards me in a panic. The next second, I disappeared in front of her eyes. 14 A thunderclap awakened Brahma in meditation. He picked up the robe that had fallen to the ground and walked towards the outside of the palace. He pressed his eyebrows. But in my heart, there was still a panic. What's wrong? He lowered his voice, not wanting to wake up Xiao Shu, who had finally fallen asleep. The palace said, there was a landmine just now, as if it had been struck in the monastery where the Buddha lived, but fortunately, there was no fire, so it should be fine. Are you okay? Why is his heart beating so hard? It seemed that something important was being removed from his flesh and blood. I didn't sleep all night after dawn. Vantan hurriedly wanted to go back. Concubine Xiao was wearing a gorgeous and complicated palace costume, with no hair tied in front of Van Tan, and her long crow blue hair hung down in front of her, looking like a small face, without any blood. Vatican, can't you stay with me for a while? It's not easy for you to enter the palace every time. She kept it softly. Last night, she kept saying that she was panicked and uncomfortable, so she stayed with Vantan for the night. The imperial decree has been issued. Van Tan agreed to marry him, and in a few days he would marry another woman. But this time, Van Tan just looked at her coldly. I have left Sangbai for one night. I promised her that I would go back early and cook vegetarian food for her. The concubine is flustered, and she can also ask other monks to give lectures. Xiaoshu couldn't believe it, bit her lip gently, and her face turned pale. Previously, Brahma had never rejected her. I won't push her to others. After folding his hands, Van Tan hurriedly walked out. Instantly stunned, Xiaoyao, who was with Sangbai, appeared outside the palace. This is something that Miss Sang packed up and instructed the slave to hand over to the noble concubine. Vantan stopped. Stuff. Sangbai packed up everything in the Buddha hall to give it to Xiaoshu. He unconsciously turned the Buddha bead and got faster. When Xiaoshu heard this, she also opened the sandalwood box curiously. The first thing that comes into view is a dazzling wedding dress. She was supposed to wear this wedding dress to marry Van Tan. But she doesn't want it anymore. She felt that Xiaoshu was more suitable. In the words of Sangbai's time, they were official matches. There are also some things from Vatican below, the broken robe he wore, the old wooden fish he used, and everything he had thrown away, all of which she carefully collected. Finally, there is a notepad with crooked words that say everything about Brahman. The wild history is really written blindly. He is not a demon monk who betrayed Buddhism and had an affair with his concubines. When I go back, I must help Brahma correct his name. He smiled at me. Why did he smile so good-looking? Star eyes. I must find a way to change his ending. As long as he doesn't like concubine Xiao and doesn't intercede for concubine Xiao, he won't annoy the emperor. Don't you like me? It took me 1,000 years to find you. The spirit is crossed over the waist. I have been kowtowing for so long, my head is swollen, and he will like the amulet I asked, right? It would be too embarrassing if he returned it. Cover your face. The sword wound on the shoulder has not been scabbed, there is no tetanus here, I won't be here, right? Van Tan saved concubine Xiao, and sure enough, concubine Xiao was his white moonlight. Why don't I go? The feeling of having a crush is so uncomfortable. She drew an ugly crying face in the back. He is so cold and so far away from me, I don't want him anymore. 15. See the last line. Van Tan clenched the book on his fingertips. The great panic pulled his heart down and destroyed his proud concentration. Like a sword piercing him. She's leaving. She doesn't want him anymore. Vantan and concubine Xiao wanted to return the box. The pattern on the wedding dress has been changed and changed. It is the wedding she has been looking forward to for a long time. How can she not want it? Van Tan hugged the box tightly and left in a hurry. It seems that if you slow down, you will miss out on the most important person in your life. Concubine Xiao stood there and looked at his back. After a long time, he whispered, I feel like I'm going to lose him. Back in the temple, Brahma searched every corner but couldn't find her. The traces of her existence were deliberately erased by her before Sangbai left. Just like Sangbai, this person is just one of his 3,000 dreams of meditation. Van Tan pursed the corners of his lips. The whole person is like a seated Buddha statue, standing in front of the Buddhist hall. The blood Bodhi Buddha bead she returned back on her wrist was unconsciously shattered by him, and fell to the ground. Whose tears of lovesickness are the bright reds? He went to ask Xiaoyao, his voice hoarse like a broken string, where did Sangbai go? Xiaoyao looked at the Buddha in front of him. He is still out of the dust, but what's the difference? Later, Xiaoyao realized that he was lovesick and the Buddha's heart was broken. Xiaoya rubbed her sleepy eyes. Miss Sang is back. I saw her floating in the air, smiling in relief, saying that she wanted to go home and never come back. If the Buddha comes back that night, he can still send Miss Sang for a ride, and Miss Sang will wait until midnight to leave. Then he stayed by Xiaoshu's side, closed his eyes, forced himself to calm down, recited Buddhist scriptures for her, and dispelled nightmares. 16 There is no day without mulberry white, and it is no different. He did morning classes as usual. Incense was burned for worship. Cooking vegetarian meals alone. It's just that occasionally, he makes the cabbage stewed tofu that Sangbai likes to eat, and he will be in a trance for a moment. The bouncing girl appeared beside him, like a kitten with a tail raised, rubbing him affectionately and turning non-stop. The vegetarian dishes he cooked may not be so delicious. It's just that Sangbai likes it. Maybe he is not so unique. It's just because Sangbai likes it. He has CL. Early transformed so many sentient beings, but Sangbai seems to be his only believer. When she looked at him, she was like a god, focused on admiration, and her eyes were shimmering. Only him. The girl's innocent chirping sounded in her ears again. Van Tan, can you wait for me? Don't go so fast, wait for me. Van Tan, I can read tarot cards, do you want to try it? What is tarot and what will you be? She tugged at the tip of her nose and was a little proud. I will count marriage. She put out 3 cards she drew. Look, your marriage is me, it is destined by heaven, and it is destined by heaven to be the greatest. One day you will come to marry me in a robe and on colorful auspicious clouds. He hooked the corners of his lips lightly, too lazy to talk. She stared at him in a daze as he closed his eyes and took a nap. She thought he wouldn't hear it, so she asked in a low voice, You wooden fish head, what can you do if you like me a little? Brahman, if you don't like me, you will die. But I don't want you to die. Her voice fell with sadness. Van Tan, you see that the flowers I planted have bloomed, and the cat has also gained weight. Van Tan, try the rabbit cake I made to see if it's delicious. Because he belongs to the rabbit, she deliberately kneaded the sugar cake into the shape of a rabbit. When he got closer, she blushed, but boldly smeared the flour on the tip of his nose. Brahman. This is my 5th year with you. Let's get married, okay? I dream of knocking down a cold Buddha like you. Brahma. No, all the sounds fell silent. No one was in his ear anymore. Call him Brahma over and over again. Even if he doesn't get a response from him. 17 The mind is free from hindrance, without fear, and from upside-down dreams. Every word in the scriptures teaches him how to forget, and how to let go. But he couldn't. Only this time, he didn't want to do it. Phantom sat in front of the Buddha hall all night, and the dew in the grass soaked his robe, which he hadn't changed for several days. He finally understood that he had her in his heart. Sangbai and Buddha are equally important to him. After dawn, he entered the palace and he knelt before the emperor. My fiancée is gone. Please the emperor find her for me. Last time, in the face of the emperor's marriage, he resisted with all his heart. This time he knelt down and begged to get Sangbai back. Fan Tan walked out of the palace and met Xiaoshu again. There are so many coincidences in the world. However, she was waiting for him with a heart, in order to pass by a glance, to smell the sandalwood scattered on his cassock in the wind. Brahma never knew. Every time it appeared in front of him. She has been carefully dressed, and she will carefully select the hairpins on her head. More than 10 years of childhood friendship. It is not comparable to Sangbai's short 5-year entanglement. Buddha. She restrained herself from calling him. Van Tan stopped and turned sideways to wait for her. She swayed her palace skirt and walked up to him like a fluttering butterfly. Are you unhappy? Miss Sang is missing, isn't she? Buddha, she may just be your fate, and it is a blessing for the Buddha to survive. Why does the Buddha ask for troubles and fall into the demonic obstacles of the world? She persuaded him like this. Fantan narrowed his eyes slightly, a cold that could not be dissolved. This is my business with Sangbai. It has nothing to do with the imperial concubine. Wait for Brahma to brush the flowers and leaves and walk away. Xiaoshu was still frozen in place. She held onto the railing, her knuckles tense, and her hideous red marks appeared. What did he call me just now? He doesn't call me Lao Lao anymore, he calls me the noble concubine. 18 I fell from heaven and fell into a big word. I only saw the slender thighs wrapped in silk pants under the dark purple corners. I didn't wait for me to take a second look. More than a dozen swords pointed at me in unison. Master Zhou, an unknown person fell from the sky. I am afraid it is an assassin. Master Zhou, be careful. I, the assassin, crossed over. The tall figure in purple was surrounded in the middle, which was very oppressive. He waved his hand, and the guards automatically got out of the way. The person who came squatted in front of me. Slender hands lifted my chin. All of a sudden, he crashed into his starry and sultry peach blossom eyes. TSK, it looks pretty silly, it doesn't look like an assassin. How will Master Zhou deal with it? His bony fingers rubbed his chin. Just send it. Go to my room. I will interrogate slowly. The guards around me cast a self-seeking look at me. When I wake up again, not in prison but in bed. I lifted the bed curtain and wanted to run, when I saw Prince Yama with a pair of fox-like peach blossom eyes sitting outside, waiting for me. If you don't explain, why did it fall from the sky? I said I had amnesia, would you believe me? I really didn't lie to him. If I fell from such a height, I would have to break my brain if I wasn't disabled. Please tell me which dynasty it is now, and what is your name? His peach blossom eyes stirred danger, pretend to be quite similar. It's the 12th year of the Northern Qi dynasty. Isn't the Northern Qi dynasty the dynasty where I miss Brahma in my heart? It seems that I succeeded, sent to this place by the system. He listened to me talking, his peach blossom eyes smiling. Do you know the Buddha's son Van Tan? Why don't I know him? I memorize his life deeds, he is still my idol. He poured himself a cup of tea and raised his eyebrows. Then you should know me too. I feel that my reputation is no less than that of the Buddha's son Brahman. My eyes smoothed down and landed on the token on his waist, the word Zhou engraved in gold. Weak. Zhou Daochen. I shouldn't be so unlucky, right? As soon as he came, he met the commander, the emperor's cronies, and the famous cool official Zhou Daochen of this dynasty. The history books record that he cooked people alive and did all kinds of evil. It was he who cut off the Buddha bones on Van Tan's body with a knife, but he still left a breath of fresh air. My scalp is numb. How can a heartbroken and ruthless big bad grow such a confusing face? Who do you think is the big bad? He got a little closer and asked unhurriedly. Of course it's about you. My neck shrank, and it was over, and I had to die as soon as I wore it. 19 His slender fingers pressed against my neck, and his tone was frivolous. I didn't expect you to know me so well. I haven't asked what the girl's name is yet. He was not in a hurry to kill me, like stroking his prey, full of interest. The pads of my fingers gently moved between my neck. It aroused goosebumps all over my body. Don't touch it, okay? If you want to kill it quickly. I looked at death as if I were home, and raised my neck. In exchange for a flutter laugh. Who said they wanted to kill you? I just want to touch the girl's throat. Nod is not strong, which is a way for me to say hello. Liar. The corners of his eyes were naturally provoked, which was very charming. If I don't lie to ghosts, I will just lie to you. Girl's name. I dared not answer him. My name is Asen. Miss Asen, don't leave my mansion until you find out your identity. He leaned closer and exhaled in my ear. It's best not to leave me for half a step. My ears turned red. You know I'm a big bad guy, and a big bad guy can do anything bad. The most dangerous words came out of his mouth, but they were lingering. I also want to fight for freedom. The stomach screamed uncontrollably. Zhou Daochen was stunned for a moment. After he got up, he quickly brought the roast chicken. Do you eat what the big bad guy bought? I closed my eyes and accepted my fate. I'll eat. Even if he dies at the hands of Zhou Daochen, he has to be a full dead ghost. Zhou Daochen held the roast chicken and handed it to me. I had no choice but to lean down and take 2 bites of the chicken leg in his hand, regardless of the image. He held his forehead with his other hand. The peach blossom eyes drooped and the slender eyelashes fluttered, not knowing what bad thoughts he was thinking. Occasionally, I would be reminded to eat slowly. I used to have a puppy. Now, I think it's good to raise someone. In a fit of anger, I gnawed it so hard that I treated the roast chicken as Zhou Daochen and bit it all over. I was kept in captivity by Zhou Daochen. The maids in the house all call me Mississippi. He bought me the best silk clothes. Put on the most expensive hairpin for me. I was wary. Are you trying to corrupt me? Trick from my mouth. Don't bother, I forgot. Zhou Daochen rolled his eyes with his bright peach blossom eyes. I don't like to be around people who are too ugly. Fortunately, you, a nameless little demon who fell from the sky, can still see it dressed up. In fact, if Zhou Daochen doesn't kill me, it's not bad for me. Whatever I want to eat, no matter how far away I go, I will buy it for me. Hidden in the sleeves of his white official robe, when it was delivered to me, his body temperature remained, and it was still hot. Except he doesn't allow me to leave the house. I remember that in the late period of the Northern Qi dynasty, the imperial court was in turmoil. The emperor is bent on taking back the military power in the hands of the Shao family, and soon the Shao family will be imprisoned. Even concubine Shao, who wanted to be windy and rainy in the harem, could not escape the disaster. It is this juncture. I fell from the sky and was rumored to have come to the world as a monster by someone with a heart, which was a sign of the destruction of the country. The emperor also invited the Buddha Sun Van Tan to open the altar. I have to find a chance to meet Vatican. Change his bad luck implicated by the Shao family. 20 I brought the ladder, and while the maid was not aware, I climbed up the wall. Then a foot slipped and fell down. Fell into a warm and hard embrace. When he looked up, he was facing the deep peach blossom eyes of Zhou Daochen. Where are you going? I squeezed out a smile. Go listen to the Buddha's lectures. The Buddha is cold and dusty, do you like it? Zhou Daochen hummed in my ear, I just lack a human skin peach blossom drum. Ask you again, where are you going? I immediately changed my words. I want to go to the river outside the city with the commander to see the fireflies. Zhou Daochen was like a satisfied little fox, raising his tail. I am barely satisfied with this answer, and I will take you to see it once. The cool night is soaked with the fragrance of locust flowers. Zhou Daochen hugged me and rode the horse together, and I leaned against his chest. There is no special smell on his body, only a strong texture and a warm body temperature. But it unexpectedly made me feel at ease. I must be crazy. To feel at ease, you should also feel at ease around a Buddha-like Brahmin. Why, in a murderous cool official, I also feel at ease around me? I can't think of an answer. He was carried off his horse by Zhou Daochen, and a reed flower by the moat. The stars filled the night sky, and they were also reflected in Zhou Daochen's eyes. The reeds were quiet and I was a little disappointed, there are no fireflies. Zhou Daochen didn't speak, the short knife on his waist was unsheathed, and a large piece of reeds was cut down. The fluttering reeds are like snow. The fireflies flew into the sky with their lights. My heart hurt for no reason. I seemed to have invited someone to accompany me to see the fireflies. I waited a long, maybe many years, and he didn't agree. Zhou Daochen stood under the shimmering halo with a short knife, like a person in a painting. He didn't get impatient at all, and when the fireflies flew away, he asked me, "Do you still want to see it?" I suddenly jumped off the embankment. Zhou Daochen came faster than I thought and hugged me in his arms. He lowered his eyebrows and a small flame burned in his peach blossom eyes, It's so high, you dare to jump. You're down there, you'll catch me. He hooked the corners of his lips. What if I don't answer? I'm a big bad guy. I hooked his neck, but the big bad didn't let me fall or hurt. You want to kill me, why are you staying here today? Commander, will you be soft? He is a notorious villain in the history books. But from the day he saw me, he gave me a home. Zhou Daochen hugged me, did not let go, and said in a low voice, do you still want to see the fireflies? Don't look at it. Maybe I don't want to see fireflies, I just want to find someone to accompany me, so that I am not so lonely in this strange dynasty. He was surprised. Why? Came out of the city on purpose. I found that fireflies are not as good looking as you. Zhou Daochen was silent. The faint light of the fireflies illuminated his peach blossom eyes with my reflection. 21 The government was in turmoil, and Zhou Daochen came back later and later, and the smell of blood on his body became heavier and heavier. That day, Zhou Daochen came back very late. Changed into a black dress and stood on the corridor. I greeted him before he could call out his name. And I saw him killing. Those slender hands easily broke a person's neck. The dead man's eyes were not closed, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. I stood where I was. Zhou Daochen in front of him seemed to coincide with the person recorded in the history books. Ruthless and ruthless, with a fierce wrist, it is a good knife in the hands of the emperor. Ah San, you are afraid of me. I wanted to say that I was not afraid, but my body was shaking honestly. Zhou Daochen took off the blood-stained gloves on his hands. Come up to me. Cold fingers touched my eyes. He was close to my ear, his voice softer than the evening breeze. I bumped into my secret. How should I punish you? If you kill me, hurry up. Zhou Daochen's hand fell on my neck and dragged me into his warm arms. The hand that was blindfolded to my eyes did not move. His cold hair brushed against my cheek. Soft and slightly cool lips printed on my forehead. Are you still afraid? This is punishment. Anyone can be afraid of me. Ah Sang, you are different, you are not allowed to be afraid of me. After the kiss of the bloody night, I also saw Zhou Daochen's heart clearly. He won't hurt me. Yes, he is the big bad in the history books, and he gave me the only remaining bit of tenderness. I became bolder. He would hug his lean waist and ask, Big Bad, when did you fall in love with me? Lord Zhou, who is calm and dark-bellied, will also have red cheeks and wandering eyes. When I went out that day, someone gave me a hexagram, saying that the red phoenix star I hit was about to move. And you fell from heaven and fell before me. I don't believe it. The notorious cool official can be so easy to deceive. Many years later, Zhou Daochen pulled me to enjoy the snow in the palace before telling the truth. He saw me fall from the sky, and my identity was a mystery. Ordered to be strictly supervised. He wants a handsome man to trick me into telling the truth. But over time, he lost himself. Asen, your eyes are very beautiful, pure and clear, and different from everyone here. When you first saw me, there was no prejudice, no fear, no hatred. At that time, I was thinking, if these eyes could always be like this, how nice it would be to look at me alone. 22 Seeing the rumored P, the favored concubine Xiao was a rainy day. She knelt in front of the steps of the study and begged to see Zhou Daochen. There is no deviation from the trajectory described in the history books. The Xiao family's defeat caused Long Yan to be furious, and the emperor investigated thoroughly. Several imperial ornaments similar to those in the palace set the Xiao family's crime of rebellion. The Xiao family was heavily guarded, and the officials impeached him. Concubine Xiao, who remained in the palace, changed into the clothes of the palace maid and secretly ran out of the palace, begging Zhou Daochen, who was most trusted by the emperor, to intercede for the Xiao family. The rain wet the brocade clothes on concubine Zhao's body. Washed the makeup on her face. She knelt in the heavy rain, her face pale and shivering. And Zhou Daochen added another hand stove for me before letting concubine Xiao in. The brocade skirt was still dripping water. She knelt at Zhou Daochun's feet, her voice was unbearably weak. Please Lord Zhou, speak for our Shao family. Those words in the court are all rumors, our Shao family has never had a heart of disobedience to the emperor, they are just jealous. I looked at Xiao Shu behind the bead curtain, and there was an indescribable familiarity. Only by growing up like this can you be a favorite concubine in history. Zhou Daochun was scattered. Mother, it takes a price to ask for help. Concubine Xiao stood up tremblingly. As long as the Lord is willing to save the Xiao family, the concubine can serve the Lord. I hope you will have mercy. My eyes widened. Zhou Daochun, he dare. Concubine Xiao finally saw me sitting behind Zhou Daochun, like a ghost, her pupils constricted, and her face turned pale. Sang Bai. You are Sang Bai, why are you here? Didn't you leave, disappeared? She looked at me, and then at Zhou Daochun, who was calm and relaxed. You have entangled Van Tan for 5 years, and pulled him into the world. Seduce him to return to the world for you and break the precepts for you. What is that? Her eyes were bloodshot, and her voice was sharp. Concubine Zhao's words smashed at me. I was more shocked than her. Do I know Brahman? Still entangled for 5 years. He also broke the vows for me. Wrong. I smashed it from the world, and the first person I saw was Zhou Daochun. Brahma is now searching all over the world for you, giving up your identity as a Buddha. Shouldn't you go to see him and explain clearly? I muttered, but... Concubine, I don't know him at all. Don't know? He has done so much for you, and you say you don't know him. Concubine Xiao laughed out of tears. Did you pester him and follow him to deceive his sincerity? How can there be a woman like you in the world who pretends to be a ghost and says that she is from 1,000 years later, but in less than a year, she hooked up with someone else again? You abandon Brahma, and let him bear the infamy of a Buddha, and make him lose everything. After the emperor gave him marriage, he pretended to be missing. She said to Zhou Daochun, my lord, don't be deceived by her. 23 Zhou Daochun laughed, and there was a light pear swirl on his lips. Look at my peach blossom eyes, they are very deep. Ah San, is she telling the truth? It's true. I went to find Zhou Daochun's hand and held it. I came from 1,000 years ago. But I forgot why I came here. But I lost part of my memory, forgot a lot of things, maybe. Including Brahman. Do you believe me? I eagerly looked into Zhou Daochun's eyes. After a long time, Zhou Daochun touched my red eyes and pulled me into his arms. I believe you. Even if you know Van Tan and stay with him, what if you live with him? I picked you up, you belong to me, how could a big bad guy like me return you? Concubine Zhao's soaked body trembled and was unwilling, my lord. She attracted the Buddha to break the precepts. I don't understand why Concubine Xiao is so deeply hostile to me. Zhou Daochun's peach blossom eyes curved, and his smile was extremely cold. Mother, you need to pay a price for begging for someone. I want your tongue. He handed the knife to Concubine Zhao's hand. Let her dig it out with her own hands. My lord counts when he speaks. Xiao Shu is willing to offer her tongue. Concubine Xiao closed her eyes and clenched the knife in her hand. I still couldn't hold back and stood up. Don't cut it. He wanted your tongue and didn't promise to keep the Xiao family. The torrent of history cannot be changed by one person. What's more, Concubine Xiao asked for the wrong person from the beginning. The knife in Concubine Zhao's hand smashed to the ground. Zhou Daochun's peach blossom eyes were shining, and he was very excited. Ah Sang, why help her? I could have fried her noisy tongue and fed it to the dog. I held an umbrella and walked out of the mansion with my soul sent off Concubine Xiao. Why help me? We don't have insurmountable hatred, do we? Although I don't know why the lady hates me. Concubine Xiao was stunned, laughing and crying. Sang Bai, it seems that you really forgot. It's good to be able to forget. In fact, in those 5 years, I was jealous of you more than once, and I was able to stay by Van Tan's side, and in the face of gossip, Van Tan's coldness towards you never chose to leave. You are so firm, I think it's incredible. If I had been a little more firm at the beginning, I wouldn't have missed out with Vatican. You are always smiling, around Brahma, like the warm sun in the sky. I think it's an eyesore. Later, I finally saw you crying. It was Vantan who chose to save me, and when you stood in front of me, you covered your wounds and shed tears. I should have been happy, but I didn't feel so happy. Concubine Xiao had red eyes, like a beauty in an ancient painting looking back. If you forget him, don't think about it again. After all, he is the cold moon in the sky, and getting too close will make people frostbite. Master Zhou is also very good to you. I handed the umbrella to Concubine Zhao's hand. Mother, it's raining heavily, go back again, don't get wet a second time. Concubine Xiao is gone. I know that I will never see her again. And dying people, nothing to be angry about. 24 In the winter of the 13th year of the Northern Qi dynasty, Concubine Xiao was imprisoned. It is no different from what is recorded in the history books. Only this time, Concubine Xiao did not find out that she was pregnant. I was pleasantly surprised. It seems that because of my appearance, history has deviated. The snow in winter is like crane feathers, flying and falling. Van Tan stood in the snow, his hands folded. The shoulders of the cassock were covered with snow, melting into one color. Only the string of blood Bodhi swayed gently in the wind. When I saw him, I was happy, and a slightly cool sadness oozes from my heart. From Concubine Zhao's mouth, I learned a general idea. Have I pestered him for 5 years? Why did you give up again? Probably injured again and again, hurt to despair. Saying bye, he exhaled like mist, calling my name with a hint of uncontrollable joy. And I just called him from a distance not too far, saying, Master Buddha. His cold and handsome face suddenly turned pale. The compassionate and warm smile between his lips slowly dissipated. Why do you call me that? You never. Before I can see that Van Tan is very sad. His fingers, almost pale from the wind and snow, mechanically turned the Buddha beads. The fragile blush at the corners of the eyes is like a rouge flower blooming in the cold wind. Saying bye, I regret it. I knelt before the Buddha for 3 days and saw my sincerity. I realized it too late. This time, if I were by your side, it would be good for 5 or 10 years. He spoke softly, as if enduring the pain of cutting open his heart, and gasped, saying bye, I am no longer a Buddha that you cannot touch, and I will be with you in all kinds of disasters in the world in the future. I smiled at him, Master Buddha, I have found someone to keep me company. He's a bad guy, but he's a guy who is only good to me. My lord, I don't like to be left behind again, and I won't love it anymore. It doesn't matter who is by my side. It will not be him again. The most painful thing in the world is to have it, and lose it completely. It is also like the mandala in the Buddhist scriptures, the most magnificent carvings turn to dust. When I turn around. His voice trembled and he lost his composure, don't go. Saying bye, I beg you not to leave. Didn't you say you came for me? For 5 years, every time you called my name, I still remembered. I looked at Brahman's eyebrows apologetically. I'm sorry, Master Buddha, I forgot. He thought about many possibilities. I just didn't think that the fate between people was so shallow. Those who have crossed thousands of years for him will forget him. Van Tan stood quietly, as if the world was far away, and he couldn't feel anything. The ice and snow melted and rolled down from between his long eyelashes. The heavy snow in the world, the pain in his heart was like fire, starting from the heart, to the bones, to the flesh burning to the end. I couldn't bear to look at it, and moved the umbrella above his head. Lord Buddha. I bit my lip and hesitated, although I know you like Concubine Xiao very much, the collapse of the Xiao family is fate, so you should not intercede for her. This is my last selfishness, I don't want to see history repeat itself, and the tragedy of his removal of Buddha's bones is removed. If he insists on interceding for Xiao Shu, it has nothing to do with me. 25 The night I saw Van Tan. I often get distracted when I have dinner. Zhou Daochen raised the corners of his fox-like sultry eyes and gave me a glass of freshly brewed and still warm green ant wine. What are you thinking about? I tugged at the corners of my lips. It's nothing. He leaned over again and put his hand into the sleeve of his white official uniform to keep warm. Can you not remove the Buddha bones of Brahman? The history books only wrote that Zhou Daochen was a cool official, who dug out the Buddha's bones with a knife and was scolded for 1,000 years, and even his ending was not written in the book. Zhou Daochen peeled the freshly baked sweet potato for me. Do you feel sorry for him? No. Zhou Daochen likes to feed me very much, and his beautiful peach blossom eyes are lazy. I took a bite of the soft sweet potato with his fingertips. The main reason is that you are afraid of being punished by heaven. In history, these cool officials, rabbits and dogs cooked, did not end well. He said indifferently, I won't. I deliberately bit his finger. Don't be angry. I want you to live a long life and accompany me until I grow old. Zhou Daochen laughed, and even the two small pear vortices on his lips bloomed. Well, I won't pick his Buddha bones. If the emperor has an order, I will let others remove it. Goodbye Van Tan, who held the celadone urn in his hand. It contained Xiao Shu's ashes. After the Xiao family was killed, concubine Xiao committed suicide in prison. This time, Van Tan did not intercede for her. He held her urn and walked on the snow-covered land, with no way forward or way back. Master Buddha. I don't know how to comfort him. He said quietly, Sangbai, call me Fan Tan. I called him softly. The cold eyes suddenly turned red. Concubine Xiao knows that you are so sad for her, and she will not be happy under the 9 springs. I'm not sorry for her. His half-drooping eyes looked at me for a while. The cold wind in the north and south roads blew away his pure white robe, like a slender lone crane about to fly. Van Tan slowly raised his hand, held the string of blood Bodhi Buddha beads, and circled 3 times above my head to pray for my blessings. May Sangbai have a complete life with his loved ones. We will be together until we grow old, and we will never be separated. His tears fell into the snow and disappeared without a trace. Extra. 1. The Northern Qi dynasty in history only existed for more than 100 years. After the Xiao family was destroyed, the emperor withdrew his military power, but favored the eunuchs and sycophants. The wind rises and the world is still in chaos. Zhou Daochen played with the short knife in his hand, his peach blossom eyes were full of blood, and he was crazy. Ah Sang, would you like to gamble with me once? If you enter the game with your body, success or failure depends on heaven. Become a king, defeat to bone. Zhou Daochen was deeply favored by the emperor, and he entered and exited the deep palace without having to take off his armor and hold the military power of the imperial army. The inner hall, behind the layers of curtains. He cut off the emperor's neck with a knife, and blood splattered all over the floor. I have been with Zhou Daochen for a long time, and I have developed a lot of courage. You're crazy. I didn't. Zhou Daochen turned around calmly and rubbed the blood splashed on the back of my hand. Ah Sang, I also have a name, Zhou Yan. My mother was a cheap slave in Zinzheku, and she was forced by this man to get drunk, and after giving birth to me, she was afraid of being discovered and punished by the queen, so she gave me to a eunuch to be an adopted son. Zhou Daochen's peach blossom eyes were condensed like blue, and it was pitch black that could not penetrate the light. Asin, you come from 1,000 years later, familiar with history, you should know what kind of life those righteous sons lived in the hands of eunuchs. The smart one is the knife, and the beautiful one is the pet. I have long wanted to kill all of them. Zhou Yan. This name is the founding emperor of the next dynasty, the Great Zhou. Why didn't he say it earlier? This is the beginning of Tianhu. Asin. He thought I was frightened and called me twice. Are you afraid? Hesitation flashed in Taohua's eyes. What are you afraid of? You are sure to win. After 6 years of recruiting troops and horses, conquering the world, and expanding the territory, I followed Zhou Yan back to the old palace in northern Qi. This time, he is the emperor and I am the queen. The day after the seal. I crossed the red palace wall and vaguely saw the pure white in the bustling crowd. He looked in my direction, folded his hands, and bowed 3 times, which was both a parting and a blessing. I covered my heart, didn't remember anything, but still felt a faint pain. The memory is forgotten, but the body remembers. Like the scar on my shoulder. I don't remember who it left it for, and when I touch it, it hurts so much. Zhou Daochen covered my eyes from behind. Take me to an uninhabited palace. Put on a dragon and phoenix crown adorned with flower ornaments for me. When he didn't open his eyes, he kissed me on the lips, and the burning breath took over all the senses. Esan, the world is settled, and we should have a child. 2. The news of Brahman's death came. The official kiln teacup I was holding in my hand still shook a little. A few drops of warm tea splashed on the back of my hand, and were brushed away by me without a trace. In the flood in Jiangnan, the Buddha rescued many people. After finally rescuing a child, the Buddha saw that the natural disaster was tragic and the people were displaced, so he jumped into the turbulent water with a bag of mud and sand, filled the gap, and made up for the leak with his body, but never came up again. Several groups of people were sent, but the water was too urgent, and they couldn't fish out the Buddhas. There were no bones left. I waved away the palace people, and sat quietly under the window. For a while, it was unclear, 1,000 cuts, or an ending with no bones left, which one was better for him. Over the years, I have slowly remembered some profound things. I remember kneeling for him 1,000 steps of the long steps. Asked for an amulet for him. Pray for him to change his early death and miserable fate. In the dark, the chess pieces that fell from the fingertips of the gods, I have spanned thousands of years, and there is no way to change them. Because of the flood in Jiangnan, Zhou Yan came to accompany me very late during this period. In the silent night, the sound of electric current sounded intermittently. Host. The system is sizzle. Fix. I woke up and sat up. A pair of slender and warm hands covered my ears from behind and dragged me into his arms. And